What's up YouTube? Today I want to talk about modulating the phase of LFOs in Vital and why it's such a cool feature. Let's dive in and have a look. So for those who don't know, Vital has the ability to modulate the phase of the LFO, which is particularly interesting for a multitude of reasons which I'm going to try cover in this video. This is not the only VST which allows this. I know PhasePlant allows this and various other VSTs allow for you to modulate phase for LFOs and stuff like this. But there are a couple of reasons in Vital in particular that make this such a powerful tool. I'm going to try outline those in this video. The first thing that makes this particularly interesting is when we create something like a gate pattern and use this to kind of offset the sequence to create a kind of variation on the sequence and stuff like that. So let's quickly just hold control and draw in a bunch of triangles like that. And for those who don't know, if you hold shift and modulate one of these curve controls, it modulates all of the curve controls in your shape, which is another really cool feature. So let's say, for example, hold shift and then modulate all of these like this. And then let's say the third one, let's give it a bit of a bump like that. Let's say the sixth one and the last one. We can do like a variety of different types like that. So let's set the volume of the oscillator down to 0, and then we can use this LFO to modulate the volume. We might want to turn it down to, I think, let's try 1/1. We might also want to turn the smooth off just to give us like exact values. So I want to set this to 1/16 and add 2 little nodes right at the end. So we can add like a 32's roll right at the end of the sequence. So let's see what this sounds like now. Cool. So what I want to do here is let's just transpose the notes. I've covered this in a previous video. I want to punch in a bunch of notes which I like in the scale. Then we can go over to LFO2 and let's just modulate the pitch with this one, and I'm going to draw in a long note here. Okay, we've set the patch up. Now I want to show you guys what we can do with modulating the phase of the LFOs. So let's set a macro to modulate over here, like this. And so with this particular instance, it might be, more kind of cohesive, like it might fit with the grid. If we jump in and we actually set the mod matrix to a specific thing, I'm going to explain in a second. But watch what happens when we modulate this. It kind of changes the offset of the gates and the melody in the sequence. So it quickly changes that kind of sequence that we had. Even though the kind of notes stay the same, the gate patterns change, if that makes sense. The problem is it kind of slides it out of time, if that makes sense. So here we've got 8 steps, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, well, 9, but 8 steps of the same kind of time value. So what we want to do is let's set this to 8 like this, and let's draw in steps like this. So it kind of looks like a staircase of, even 8 values. And then what happens when we modulate this, you'll see it kind of jumps to these positions like start points in the sequence. So check this out. So you can obviously expand this. You can do this with the kind of melody part as well as the gate part. You're not limited to just, obviously one thing. Another particularly cool thing that this can be used for is, let's say, for example, we've used up all of our macros. So what I want to do is let's just, I'm going to assign a bunch of these macros to random things. Let's just say... So now let's say, for example, we've used up all of our macros, but we want to control the 2 parameters at once. We want to kind of like automate this or something like that. So here what we can do is let's go to LFO 3. We can click over here, or actually just turn this all the way down till it says freeze. And now essentially this is not an LFO, it's a no-FO. It's a oscillator that's not moving at all. And essentially this is a function generator. So what happens is we put in an input, and this curve relays that value to the output that we assign it to. So if you're not following, let's say, for example, apply this to this inharmonic control here, as well as the wavetable position. And now if we modulate this phase, what it's going to do is it's going to modulate both of those as kind of like a macro, which is pretty cool. Let's check this out. Another particularly interesting thing that you can use this for is to create kind of like presets within a preset that you can kind of like modulate between. So let's say, for example, create a bunch of steps here. So I'm just going to randomly put these like this, and then we can use this to modulate random kind of stuff within this parameter. So we can go positive and negative, however you want to do it. You're not limited to just the kind of like macros in the parameter. You can do all sorts of stuff, like let's say, for example, let's flip this filter upside down and turn it up. You can even jump into the matrix and change how some of these things are being modulated. So random one on the filter, we can say invert this like this. Cool. So now what happens is when we modulate, it kind of like switches these values. Check this out. that is such a cool feature. That is, yeah, like I said, you're able to do so many things with it that are, you know, beyond, you know, what most synths are capable of. Like this kind of like preset switching thing. It's not limited to this. You know, we could jump into the matrix again and change these, you know, for all of these LFO 5 like preset switcher type of things that we've done, we could go in and set the mod remaps with more steps to kind of create even more kind of like differences in these things, you know. Let's just see how this goes. I'm going to go in there and just punch in random ones all the way. Oopsie. Random steps. We can do some ramps, some steps. Some of them we can just kind of like invert the ramps and not go like all the way. Maybe do a bit of a curve. This could be interesting. Let's do like a ramp, curve downwards, and one in the middle. That could be interesting. Anyway, so let's see how this goes. Cool. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to be posting this preset to my Patreon for all my $5 supporters. So if you want to know what that's all about, check out the link in the description. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And see you guys next time. Cheers.